I'm enticed by a mystery planet that clearly has a bigger secret than it lets on, and these are kids. How are they going to know this secret?
Yeah, I think this was a great little 2-episode premiere. It's very fun. It does feel a little relaxing that you don't need to know all these backstories. You don't need to have watched, 5 seasons of an animated show or anything like that.
What is also true for all these stories is there's a deeper mystery. And I think there's a really cool element to these ambulance stories in that your home, your neighborhood, as boring as it may seem, is always covering some dark secrets.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Breakroom. You best start believing in Star Wars stories, Miss Skywalker, because you're in one. What? We're talking Skeleton Crew. Hit that graphic, baby.
After show, we go and plunder the gold to the old republic, or is it the new republic? It's from a mint, from a time that's old. I rhymed old with gold, it just doesn't fit in the scheme.
No, I did. People that have not watched the show are so confused at Star Wars. You're doing pirate voices?
If you haven't watched Skeleton Crew and you're here, get ready for a wild ride, baby. I'm Brandon Barrick. Joining me today, he would lay down his life before 100 Rancors to save precious Neel. It's Erik Voss.
And those Rancors can do whatever they want with me. No. I will protect that child at all
costs. He gave
costs.
consent. Oh, no.
That's not what I did.
You said whatever they want.
You took it there.
Also joining us today, she's so sick of hanging out with a stinky Griffin boys. It's Jessica Clemons.
I just want to go home. This is my guns. These are my guns. I just want to go home. KB, let's go. KB, let's go. All KBs, rise up.
KBs, rise up. Well, we're going to talk about Skeleton Crew and what the heck is an At Attin? Is Jude Law's character really a Jedi? And could the events of this show end up having more of a connection to the Star Wars lore than it leads on? I hope not. We'll get into all that and more. We'll be taking questions from our live chat throughout the episode, so send them in if you're in our chat now. And the Breakroom is almost at 100,000 subscribers.
So close.
We are so close, folks. Time is flying by, and we're a growing baby little channel. If you're not subscribed, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. It really helps out.
Helps our egos.
Helps our egos. It helps Evan get out of bed every morning. Just like, if you haven't subscribed, just hit that subscribe button.
As soon as we hit 100,000 subscribers, we're only going to do a stream where we're all wearing dark sunglasses.
We're
really
that's
cool.
fun.
Just keep ashing out a cigarette. No one's smoking it. No one's smoking it.
That's a promise we can deliver on.
We're going to be so cool. And if you are already subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. We love having you here. And we're so excited to talk about Star Wars Skeleton Crew today. Let's do a quick recap of the first 2 episodes as we kick off. Jessica, why don't you start us off?
Yes. As a reminder, Skeleton Crew is taking place during the Mandoverse time period between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. In this 2-episode premiere, we get an awesome opening set piece showcasing a band of space pirates in action and a mutiny against their leader, Captain Silvo.
Who could it be?
Who could it be?
They should have showed his face. My opinion. We're then brought to the planet of At Attin and introduced to our 4 main characters, Wim, Fern, KB, my girl, and of course, Neel. I love Neel.
You better give one good, at some point.
I love Neel, and he doesn't talk with his trunk. Wim believed he's found a Jedi temple buried underground. When the kids explore it later at night, it turns out to be the former pirate ship, and Wim accidentally sends it into hyperdrive.
Yeah, baby.
The ship is filled with literal skeletons and a rundown droid, SM-33, my second favorite character of the show. And Fern convinces SM-33 that she's the new captain of the ship, and it takes them to the pirate spaceport. The port of the spire. You guys get what I'm saying. Either way, they take them to the port, the Bargo, to find directions back home.
Yeah, and there at Port Borgo, the pirates don't believe the kids are from At Attin. They refer to At Attin as a lost planet of eternal treasure, a myth. But they do get very interested in the fact that Wim is using Old Republic credits that his dad gave him as lunch money. Old Republic? Oh, that's like thousands of years ago. But SM-33 comes to their rescue when these pirates are trying to be like, give me that golden ticket, Charlie. And then SM-33 just goes to town on them.
Yeah.
There's a ton of Easter eggs here in this port, and the breakdown is on the New Rockstars channel if you want to see a lot of them. But they're thrown into the brig. And in this brig, it becomes full Pirates of the Caribbean. You hear the whistling from the end of the ride at the Disney parks. They meet this mysterious figure played by Jude Law, who seems to be using the Force to bring the key over into the jail cell. Very interesting.
Very mysterious.
And he's asked if he's a Jedi, and he goes, "Shh, can you keep a secret?" So the question is not answered, but the question has been asked.
Yeah.
Before we get into these deeper questions of what this planet of At Attin is, what is the Great Work? What is this weird Truman Show fascist The Giver society?
Yeah.
I just want to know some general reactions from these first 2 episodes. What do you guys think? Jess?
Sorry, good time to turn on me. Sorry, I'm so sorry. There's something in my throat.
Is it a little rat?
Yeah, it's that little rat, or that goo that they put on the ramen.
No goo for me, please.
Poor Neel. And I was like, Neel, you got the less amount. Wim got the full body. Poor Wim got the entire body. No, I think it's so fun and it's very cute. But beyond me being obviously addicted to like just cute creatures, cute little kids doing rambunctious things, I was like, oh, this is a great kind of story of like this lost planet that everyone thinks is a myth, doesn't exist. It is filled with riches, filled to the brim with riches, and everyone's like, we want a piece. It feels like Wakanda. It feels like Wakanda to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was the draw for me with Wakanda too, was like, oh, I'm enticed by a mystery planet that clearly has a bigger secret than it lets on, and these are kids. How are they gonna know this secret?
Yeah.
So I am obsessed with it. I'm gonna eat this show up. I honestly wish the second episode was a lot longer. I was obsessed with it.
Yeah, I think this was a great little 2-episode premiere. It's very fun. It does feel a little relaxing that you don't need to know all these backstories. You don't need to have watched, 5 seasons of an animated show or anything like that. I'm interested to see where it goes. It's obviously playing into a lot of the nostalgia of like kind of the original trilogy. And then, I didn't know how this pirate thing would mix in well, but it mixes in really well and it's very fun. And just kind of like, I very much enjoy the space where like Star Wars exists right now in its production of like practical use of stuff and still using like computer animation. Like we went through the growing pains of like the prequel trilogy of like everything being CG, and that looks really fake now. And then even, going through early Mandalorian where they were overusing like the volume, they were using that a lot and they've kind of stopped doing that. And now we have like a good mix of like, yeah, there's CG, but then there's still a lot of practical puppetry going on. I love all the practical effects of like the different species of aliens we're seeing. Like Port Borgo, we barely saw any humans, right? We get a lovely Captain EO reference, best little puppet guy. Like all these great little things that I really like. I like the little tweak that was driving the ferry. Like
the teak?
The teak, yeah. Very much like a puppet, and just I like that Star Wars is okay with having these things that don't look 100% real. Like they look like puppets, but it works. I don't know. I like it a lot.
To a whole generation of people, that is Star Wars.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a different side of John Watts. So John Watts is the co-creator of the show with Christopher Ford. I remember being at Star Wars Celebration in 2022 when he first pitched this, and I really did not know what he meant by it.
We didn't know what this thing was going to be.
It was going to be like an Amblin-style adventure, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right. John Watts, the director of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, one of the best things he does as a director is just work with young actors. He gets great, authentic performances out of young actors, and that's not an easy thing to do. It's one of the things that Steven Spielberg was one of the first directors to actually be able to do it, and that's why it opened up a whole new generation of fans to come see movies in the 70s and 80s. Cinema used to be almost something like Broadway in the 60s and 70s. It was like a higher art form. Yes, there were some blockbusters, but like Jaws was like the first summer blockbuster.
Right.
And everyone went to go see it, including all ages. John Watts, we're now seeing, when you watch the Spider-Man movies, he seems inspired by John Hughes. Now we're seeing a John Watts inspired by Spielberg and Amblin and Richard Donner. And it's fascinating to see him working with a younger generation of actors. But what is also true for all these stories is there's a deeper mystery. And I think there's a really cool element to these Amblin stories in that your home, your neighborhood, as boring as it may seem, is always covering some dark secret.
Yeah.
And whether it's Goonies, whether it's E.T., or Poltergeist, or Ethan Hawke Explorers. These kids invent like this space bubble technology that can take them to space. There's all these stories that also influence John Watts, and the practical side of it. Like, I just think he is a Star Wars lover who may have, I'm assuming, loved Return of the Jedi more than the other 2 films. My first Star Wars film was Return of the Jedi. It was not A New Hope. It was not Empire.
Right.
It was Return of the Jedi. And I think I might have even seen the Ewoks movies before I saw Empire as a kid, just because I was a kid. And so I think John Watts may have had a similar approach, and that is what we're seeing here. And I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah, we're excited to see where this series is going to go for sure. Let's get into some of our biggest questions from the episodes that we saw. We mentioned it a bit already, but one of our biggest questions is kind of like the planet of At Attin itself, right? Like, what the heck is this planet all about? And I love the reveal that, like, no, yeah, the pirates are like, that's not a real planet. And we know it's real because all these people live on it, right? In a Screen Rant interview, director John Watts described At Attin as a peaceful and nice planet, and once being, quote, the crown jewel of the Old Republic. And him using the term Old Republic is very interesting, right? Because the Old Republic is very, very old.
Yes.
Right? Because the show Acolyte that we just saw was set during the High Republic, which is after the Old Republic.
Yes. The Old Republic is not only an old period of time, but a long stretch of time. We're talking about something around 25,000 BBY to about 2,000 BBY. The events of Knights of the Old Republic, the game from the early aughts, the game series, are set during around like 3,900 or so, between 3,900 and 4,000 BBY. When we say BBY, we're talking about before the Battle of Yavin, before the events of the 1977 Star Wars: A New Hope and Rogue One, that period of time. So we're not talking about hundreds of years before Phantom Menace. We're talking about thousands of years, and a stretch of time that lasts about 20,000 years. So think about the human species on Earth. Our civilization has not lasted 20,000 years.
Right.
So it'd be like the difference between talking about like the Renaissance versus ancient Rome and ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
And this is, you can check your block for thinking about ancient Rome once per day.
We did it.
But this is like an insane amount of time. And what's crazy is, like, right now Star Wars is using the High Republic era of their stories to talk about something that's about 300 to 200 years before, like, the Battle of Yavin. It's far more recent to what's happening now, and only at that point are we talking about hyperspace lane charting. You know? Now there is a theory that the Great Work that's mentioned on At Attin, the mention in Wim's story pad of a Jedi named Lena, could be a reference to Lena So. And now we have some art of her. She is a chancellor during the time of the High Republic. And her whole idea is the Great Works. And the Great Works is her way of saying, I want to bring more planets into the Republic.
Connecting the planets, especially the ones in the Outer Rim.
Yeah.
Like bringing them in, having everyone feel connected. And during the High Republic time, Lena So is like helping the Jedi kind of rise in power and like be a part of the government, almost as like a peacekeeping force, but not as like militaristic. They're just kind of there to help whenever a planet is in need.
Are they trying to say that this planet now has gone like south, negative from that kind of? Was it? It sounds like that was something that they wanted to do that was a positive, but now this planet's in secret.
Yeah, it does feel like the planet is hiding something.
They're hiding something.
Yes.
Nefarious under its like nice sheen.
Yeah, I think if they were going to connect to this to the High Republic, I'd be very surprised, because these Old Republic credits predate the High Republic era by thousands of years. So it would have to be some like Old Republic society that literally stayed hidden from Lena So. But I do like the theory that maybe this is some side project by Lena So from the High Republic to maintain the old ways, to have some kind of social experiment that she was using, and that this society instead changed the Jedi legend so that Lena is the name of like an Ahsoka Tano type figure in the lore, and that the Great Work is still being applied but in its own way. I just think that might be just coincidental, and that At Attin is something from the Old Republic and something even older that has just evolved with the times and has some kind of like monetary cash contribution. Like they are able to mine a specific mineral on this planet. But what's crazy is just this idea of the barrier. Like the barrier, Evan did, this is a great photo of it, this creepy nighttime shot where you see swirling clouds that almost look like they are manufactured. These red lights make it seem like this night sky is being projected by drones. Now they do break through this barrier, this atmosphere, but we don't see a shot of the planet from space.
No.
It could be a space station. It could be Evan had a theory that there was like a mobile spaceship that they're on.
Potentially like some type of habitat, some like rescue thing that is something completely just floating out there now. Yeah.
Yeah. To be able to project a sky that masks stars at nighttime, we're talking about a lot of light involved, and they have to project like a level of like a moisture layer, almost like when you see a laser show and they project lasers
put fog
on
out so
fog.
you can see it.
You need to put a literal smoke screen and then project light from above onto that.
And is that even normal in this universe, in this period?
I don't think we've seen an example
something to this
of this.
degree.
Yeah.
We've not seen a Truman Show Matrix simulation like this in Star Wars before.
I love it. Make them look crazy.
Something that Kobe-Wan Kenobi in the Twitch chat brought up that we were talking about yesterday, it's like it seemed really easy for the kids to get through the barrier, right? And we didn't see any like debris or anything like that, right? So I like this idea of projections. They're asking, do you think this could be propaganda by the government to get people to not visit and stay on the planet?
Totally. It feels like The Village, right? Where it's like, don't go beyond the barrier. Because they teach them about the barrier. It's like they know it's there. They're not just saying like, no, this is the sky. This is what the sky looks like. They're saying there's some sort of barrier protecting the planet.
Yeah, no, it just feels so, not ignorant, but it's like, it feels so dumb of them to not expect that someone could escape the planet. But I guess if they're monitoring everything that comes in the planet, they're like, there's no ship that's going to just pop out of nowhere and go out.
We didn't see any other spaceship. Usually in Star Wars, right, when you get an establishing shot, there's a spaceport and there's ships coming in and out. Nothing, right? When we pan up from the suburbs, we just see like the sky. And all the cars that are driving, right, they drive on the ground with like a little tail touching the track in the road.
Yeah.
The only thing that we've seen hovering are just the hover bikes. Everything else is very tied to the planet, like they can't leave. And even Wim reading his like story pad about Jedi, it's not Jedi fighting the Empire. And I don't think we even heard any reference to the Empire or the recent Star Wars that had been happening, right? They're not that far removed from the fall of the Empire. So it's almost like these kids might not have any idea of like the Empire or the fight that just went on or the Great War that just happened. Like they might not know anything about all of that.
Yeah, I think what was I just gonna say? What if At Attin doesn't have any kind of weaponry or security forces, and it's all droids? It's all security droids using psychology to keep them in the machine and the clockwork in the system. But when this pirate ship shows up, uncovered from the dirt, they have no way of stopping it.
Yeah.
So like it just leaves and they're like, well, we didn't have spaceships on this planet.
Right.
Shit. And it tells us that the Onyx Cinder must have been there before this suburb was built. Because if they knew that a spaceship was on that planet, they would have dismantled it and done away with it.
Is the ship called the Onyx Cinder? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so we know that from Lego sets. I know it may seem like a spoiler. It doesn't
It's
seem like
not a
it's spoiling
spoiler.
anything just to know that it has this cool badass name, the Onyx Cinder.
That is a very badass name.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is a very badass
It's pretty cool.
name.
So I love this idea. It reminds me of the Inferno pirate ship in Goonies, of this ship that is just old. It's been there for a while, and this and it means that this Onyx Cinder ship must be ancient, thousands of years old. Now, does the technology here look like that? Well, if you play Knights of the Republic game, some of the technology.
I mean, the thrusters are
similar.
more. It's on a blue like light that we're kind of used to from ships, right? Like the Millennium Falcon and Star Destroyers, they have like blue impulse from their engines. This was like rocket heavy orange flame that like lifted. It had all those tons of like stabilizing thrusters that were going off as it took off.
And it has
as well.
hyperspace technology, which is a very big deal because hyperspace technology didn't always exist.
Right.
But now there's the disputed backstory in Legends. It was the Rakatan Empire that was referenced slightly in Andor season 1 episode 4, where the gem that he gives Cassian Andor comes from the Rakatan Empire age. But otherwise it seems like the Filoni the Pablo Hidalgo Lucasfilm Story Group is charting this history that is going to be tied in with what we saw in the Jedi Survivor game and in Ahsoka of the Path to Peridia and this other galaxy of people who came in. And I don't know if the Rakatans are going to factor into that, but the Rakatans are supposed to be the one that kind of like invented hyperspace technology to be able to jump from point to point to point to point. But either way, the Onyx Cinder is at least young enough that it was benefiting from hyperspace technology.
Yeah, it was going fine. It didn't seem like it was getting destroyed at all.
Yeah. And I do like too the idea that At Attin, right, that in most of these kind of stories, right, they would find a map that would lead them to a new place, but like the idea that they are from the legendary place and don't even know it is kind of it's an interesting idea, right? They got to get back home to find the treasure Like we're on top of it the whole time in theory, which is fun. Like you said, it would be like us meeting kids who are like, we came from Atlantis, and we're like, Atlantis isn't real. Like it was a myth, and it sunk into the ocean. They're like, no, we just came from right there.
Yeah. Let's explore what John Watts may mean by the term crown jewel of the Old Republic. When you're talking about ancient, when we're talking about empires, at least on Earth. To say that something was a crown jewel doesn't mean it is the home base.
Right.
It means that it is a colony that is rich in resources, that is providing those resources to the home base. So in the British Empire, India was considered the crown jewel of the British Empire because it was rich in a ton of resources and spices and minerals and all kinds of wonderful things. So it suggests that At Attin was supplying resources to somewhere else. And it was rich in those resources, and that those resources are still there, but just the political structure of the Republic has changed over time.
And we believe it's the mining, like Fern was suggesting.
I think I think that was
I think her stories are, crazy, but I think they're still tales that she kind of rooted in something else.
Yeah, all ghost stories are kind of rooted in some truth,
right? Even like fairy tales, right? Like Hansel and Gretel was like teaching young kids not to go off into the woods alone because something will kill you.
So are we expecting that planet that they're giving their resources to is kind of protecting them from the outside?
Well, I think that planet has changed. I think whatever was the crown jewel of the Old Republic has now shifted, and then during the Imperial era that shifted to, well, you had the High Republic, and then it shifted to the Imperial Age through the Clone Wars, and then you had the just the Republic of when it was headquartered on Coruscant, and then we shift to the New Republic, where it's kind of shifting from Coruscant to Chandrila, and among the core worlds is where the New Republic government shifts. But I think every era of the government has known of this, like, there's been this protected secret planet that has been able to kind of continue to exist. And in the breakdown, I go into the theory that because there's so much about droids on this planet, I feel I'm getting just some separatist vibes, and I only am really basing that on that very weird episode of Mandalorian season 3 where they go to the planet and it's Jack Black and Lizzo and it is Christopher Lloyd. And I think John Watts may have said, like, Christopher Lloyd, I love Back to the Future, I love these 80s things, let's see if we can get him in here. And he was a separatist, and I thought that was really weird in that episode of The Mandalorian. And I only feel like Lucasfilm may be like, hey, so we're going to establish some remnants of separatist culture. And the big thing that identifies separatists, whether it's the banking clan or the Trade Federation, is they love using droids and automatons for everything.
Could it have also been that the fact that they were like, oh, if we just have this mining planet, this is just a planet for its resources, let's just put a bunch of droids on there. But it's like, oh, if a droid breaks, how are they going to fix it? Oh, let's just put a bunch of colony of people on there also to monitor the droids, because those droids are stupid. When they're not dumb. They're not dumb. But in the forest, I was like, it's not helping this man find his son. He's like, oh,
they don't want to find those kids.
Narrow-minded.
I also like the idea that
the droid was like intentionally not trying to help the dad?
I find the camera head safety droids like very ominous and very creepy and very 1984. And I think they were like, we don't care about your kid. You're violating protocols to the supervisor. I also like the idea of a planet run by droids where they've tricked all the humans into doing the math, even though the droids should be really good at math. The droids are like, we don't want to do math. We want to kick back and drink oil.
Kick back and drink.
Yeah, I think what like Watts. This is early, and I'm sure my theories will change week to week. But it seems like the big themes of the '80s ambulance stories was money is a big reason why these people's lives are the way they are. That there is some kind of economic reason why they live in these suburbs or why their suburbs are being taken over. Stranger Things is exploring that kind of economic influences on their lives. And so I think that is one thing that the Star Wars Skywalker saga hasn't explored as much or not as successfully, is the way economics like George Lucas tried to introduce this with the Trade Federation and the blockades and the trade wars and Phantom Menace, and then like the fan reaction to that was like, this is boring. Right. Let's get into more of the Force mythology and the Sith
we want to see
prophecy
lightsabers
and all this
go
stuff.
whir.
And they want to see lightsabers, but there is an interesting angle to that I think Rian Johnson even tried to do with The Last Jedi with Canto Bight and wasn't really that effective with. I think John Watts is trying to do his version of that here. What are the economic forces that have been surviving war to war to war, age to age to age? Who are what are these banking families? What are the war profiteers who don't really care who wins so long as they're on the right side of it? I feel like that might be what is explored. And then we're going to see how those same financial interests are supporting the rise of the First Order.
Okay. Well, we want to answer some of your questions that you guys are dropping in the chat. But before that, we should probably thank our sponsor today. And we want to thank our sponsor this week, who is Via. Via are makers of premium federally legal cannabis products. This holiday season, why don't you unwind and recharge with Via? Whether you're enjoying a quiet evening at home or embracing the festive cheer, Via's premium THC and THC-free gummies will help you find your perfect holiday balance. I, for one, am looking forward to treating myself to an Elevate gummy over the holidays and burrowing into a nice big bowl of popcorn with peanut M&Ms tossed into it, because the heat from the popcorn melts the chocolate inside of the peanut M&Ms, but that hard candy shell keeps that liquid chocolate from spreading amongst the popcorn. And you get a peanut that makes it healthy.
I know.
Yeah. That makes it healthy. All of Via's products are grown indoors in state-of-the-art facilities and harvested at peak THCA levels to emphasize a natural aroma and flavor. They add strains to their selection every week, so there's always something new to check out. Via has THC and THC-free gummies, vapes, topicals, and drops, all of which are crafted with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. Plus, Via legally ships to nearly all states in the United States in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee. No medical card required. This holiday season, gift yourself some peace of mind. If you're 21 or over, check out the link in our description below for Via. For a limited time during the holidays, Via is offering 25% off site-wide, plus up to 50% off select items and bundles. And if you're hearing this post-sale, you can still save by using code BREAKROOM for 25% off. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Let them know the Breakroom sent you. This holiday season, enhance your everyday with Via. Evan, do we want to do some questions first, or should
we have some questions related to the planet as well as some other ones. So we'll get to some of the other ones in a bit.
Okay.
Also, shout out Nacho Gaming 20 and I'm Smirk for subbing on Twitch. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so really quick, another one from Kobe-Wan Kenobi about the barrier. Do we think that this barrier is similar to whatever stopped the rebels from getting to Exegol on the Rise of Skywalker?
Ooh.
Maybe is it like a huge wall in space? I mean, we've talked a little bit about it, but probably different.
What's interesting is everything with Exegol is another example of something that is this planet that has existed off the charts.
Yeah.
All during this time, and Exegol is currently toiling away at cloning Palpatine in tanks. So I get the argument. This seems unique here on At Attin. It seems to be non-threatening physically, but just designed to psychologically trick the people into just staying in their comfort bubbles and their support and their suburban utopias by just projecting a false life down on them. Exegol seemed outward facing to try to keep people from finding them.
Yeah.
But there must be, I mean, if the pirates can't get to it, and there must be something.
There's a reason it hasn't been mapped, right? We don't know where it is in the galaxy. Is it like in the outer rim or the outer territories? Is it like close? I love Evan's theory that like it's a ship that can move. If this is like a planet-sized ship, almost like Starkiller Base or something, is this like just it's able to move around so people can't find it?
It has to be. I mean, the universe is big, I guess, but I'm like, it has to be moving, mobile.
Yeah, I like that idea that it can move.
Or it can, I guess, have like a invisibility or something to other people's ships that come by. I just think it's crazy if it existed for a long time, how people haven't just randomly come across this planet that's in the middle of something.
Yeah.
If there's just, I know it's really vast space, but I'm like, how could not
if they're dealing
person?
with like hard currency, in theory, like something must be leaving and coming into the planet, right? Like there has to be some physical trade going on, unless they just have vast stores of this old Republic gold that they use on the planet, and they just keep using it on the planet for whatever reason.
They might be.
It could also be in another galaxy.
Yeah.
Peridea
style?
is in another galaxy, and side rant. I hated Peridea in Ahsoka. I thought it was such a disappointing, ugly landscape, and I know it was supposed to be like a dead world, but this is your opportunity to show us another galaxy that everything came from, and you just show us this dead, bog-covered world with crab people. Like, I was just so bummed. Like, the coolest thing about it is a statue of the father that's pointing like one of the statues in Lord of the Rings.
Give me Pandora. Give me Unobtainium.
Yeah, you could show anything. And they just showed like the ugliest, deadest landscape when we got there. So I loved Ahsoka until we got to Peridia. I was so excited to go to Peridia. When we got there, I was like, this? So I would love to see other planets and other weird shit that's happening in this galaxy. All we know is that they went through hyperspace.
Yeah.
Hyperspace could bring them. We don't know where Port Borgo is. The only argument against it is Port Borgo is someplace where Hondo Ohnaka and Vane and other people from Gorian Chard's pirate crew can get to. So I don't know. But
it's also protected in its own way.
Yeah, but they made her come back to our galaxy from.
Wasn't there something weird in like Solo too, where they have to do the thing with the 12 parsecs or whatever? Isn't there like a storm they're going around or something?
Oh, something like that.
Could this be inside of a storm that's protected it, or
that's a Corellian run, right? When they're going back from Corellia and they're just kind of going bunk, bunk, bunk. And part of it, he was able to do it in 12 parsecs because he could do it in 12 jumps. Yeah, a specific navigation.
Took a shortcut.
Yeah. All I'm saying is, if you're gonna bring me to a new planet, just have it covered in sand. Maybe 2 suns.
Bring back Tatooine.
Maybe 2 suns, but all the sand, it could be pink.
Bring
back
sand.
Get a
bring
Barbie
back
beach.
sabers.
It's just the Barbie land beach.
There we go. Yeah.
I'd be interested to see that.
I like this comment from Gotta Go Bam. Between the planet with eternal treasure and skeleton crew and the spherical star map in Ahsoka, is Disney trying to tell us something with these odd callbacks to Treasure Planet? I think that's
the Treasure Planet reboot.
Yeah, I think a Treasure Planet, Treasure Island like comp is very interesting because we've talked about how this show very similar to Goonies and I guess E.T. right, that Amblin vibe. But I really liked how it's like this reverse story, like instead of like we people from this mythical place are already out and they're like trying to get home. They're not trying to get the planet or get the treasure.
Not finding a new place.
Not finding a new place.
So if it's Treasure Planet, it means it's somewhere in the depths of the Lucasfilm campus is Michael Eisner saying, I have been every voice inside your head. And it's him. He never left. Iger thought he cast him out, and Eisner's still there. He's like my weird early aughts. No, I think that's a good argument. I think they do want to chart out a different area. I think the more we talk about it, At Attin feels like it must be in a different galaxy. There's no other way for them to have hidden it from everyone else.
They're going to say a long time ago in a galaxy far, 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 far away.
Got the fars.
Add extra far.
And then it has little parentheses. Seriously, it's not this galaxy. It's somewhere else.
And I guess kind of on that, and and forgive me if we talked about this already, but Michael Revere asking, but they know about the Jedi if they're cut off from the galaxy. If the planet is thought of as a myth, how would they know the story of the Jedi got to the kids? Brandon's had a theory that maybe Wim was not born on this planet.
Yeah, I was thinking. Evan and I were talking earlier that Wim's dad, right? What a punk. But I think he's been off this planet before. I think he's new to this planet. And he brought Wim here, maybe after like his wife was killed by the Empire or something like that. I'm sure something happened to Wim's mother that was serious. And he brought his son here to be on this planet to do whatever work he's doing to keep his son safe. Now he leaves his kid alone all the time, but he knows that this planet is perfectly safe and his kid's not going to get into any trouble. He was wrong. But I think, like Wim might not be born on this planet, but the idea that like they know about Jedi and stuff, I think is fine because they know about Jedi in this very obtuse way. You would think they would be talking about Luke Skywalker, the most badass Jedi ever, who just recently blew up the Death Star for the second time. Well, he didn't do it. He was on it. You know the story. You guys read the books. But the idea that like they speak about Jedi in this kind of like nebulous term of like they did these great things and they built these great temples, and it's almost like it was a long, long time ago. And anytime Wim talks about it, everyone's like, Jedi are lame. They're for little kids. Grow up. They're not real. Like, get over it. So they learned about them in the most obtuse way.
That's what I was gonna ask. And again, I might be just ignorant to the Star Wars universe, but is that so far-fetched to be like, oh yeah, they just tell it like it's a tale? They tell it like it's an old tale of like, oh, Jedis did this, and they just tell all the children. Like, it doesn't make not sense for them to not bring it up and just be like, yeah, this happened so far long ago. They're all dead now. Yeah. But now it's a myth. Ooh.
It's one of these debated things with the Imperial Age and then the New Republic Age. Why in the sequel trilogy was it such a myth to Rey and to the kids on Canto Bight who were talking about the Jedi? Like, this wasn't that long ago, but I think generally the answer is, well, that's how effective Imperial propaganda was, is they were just trying to be like Palpatine, when he took over, after Order 66, he took over the Jedi Temple. He burned a lot of shit down. He used the Inquisitors to just expunge any record of the Jedi. It was
and they made him say like Jedi were bad people.
Yeah.
Right? The Jedi were at fault for what had happened.
Right.
You know.
So a lot of people hated the Jedi.
Right, and I would think that the New Republic would be, even though Leia knows the truth or whatever, she knows that like the new government is not going to like us bringing the Jedi back in because they were in charge when the shit hit the fan, and it was all their fault. And the greatest Jedi ever, Yoda, allowed it all to happen right underneath his nose. So Leia's not going to be like, well, let's bring the Jedi back in on this. I could totally see the New Republic being very much like, no, we don't need to talk about the Jedi. And also not lay all the victory of defeating the Empire at the Jedi's feet.
Yeah.
The New Republic wants to take credit for a lot of that stuff, right? It was our soldiers, it was our ships, it was our generals that like put the Empire to bed, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see them kind of like hand waving away the Jedi and their importance.
Is it also that Wim now just assumes like anyone that has the Force, they are a Jedi,
I mean,
period?
yeah,
Because that's also why I was like, oh, he just thinks Jedis are all Jedis. Everybody that can do this are all Jedis. It's just a story.
Yeah. I think Wim is such a fascinating character because I think John Watts is using him as a point of view character to just show like a young Star Wars fan who grew up on Star Wars Rebels as opposed to the original trilogy and just kind of making these associations 100%. Of like, everything equals everything, and this must, well, if they can use the Force, they must be a Jedi. Like, he has this simplistic view of it, and it's so sweet to see this kid make these assumptions. Like, he's like someone who watched, like, the Lothal arcs on Star Wars Jedi and Ezra Bridger, and that was his gateway in. So I think this story pad, I think, is one of the most fascinating props. I assume that Wim's mother gave him that story because there was some mom who died who told him these bedtime stories, and the version of the story of the Jedi that he has been given is filtered. It has been bastardized. The legend has been changed and has been simplified in a specific way. And for it to even exist on this planet tells us that whoever's running, the supervisor that's running the planet, must be okay with this sanitized version of the Star Wars legend that's made it in. And he's had to kind of construct his own toys. Yeah. I don't think he's bought these toys in a store. He kind of has heard things about the Jedi and the Sith, but don't really understand who Darth Vader was. No. Or who Darth Maul was. This is all kind of just like a vague version of it that so I think to answer the question, that's how people in At Attinians might have heard of it. They've heard a very like candy ass version of it that made it through the other galaxy just through spice traders and pirates and other people talking to other people, and then it got encoded in the story pad, and it's not the real story of the Jedi.
And it also, I think, the candy ass story of it all is so deeply inferred in these poor children that when even like Wim wants to be like, I want to be something that's not, you know, a sheep or like working, doing all these hard labor, and everyone laughed at him immediately and was like, that's weird. Don't you want to work like an analyst like your dad? They're probably pushing these stories of like, Jedis were kind of lazy. Yeah. Like they were lazy. They didn't do shit.
I think so far Skeleton Crew is one of the most fascinating examples of from a certain point of view. And I think there are some people who just aren't interested in the show, or they haven't tuned in yet, or it's just to them the marketing, it's not the Star Wars story they want. Yeah. And that's okay. Not every Star Wars story has to be for everyone, but I just like invite you to think about this story is not telling the full story of Star Wars and the most important like Skywalker saga connected story, but it is important to these characters, and they have only a limited point of view. They haven't seen freaking stars before.
Yeah, that was so sweet.
What an interesting story to tell Star Wars from a point of view of characters who have literally not seen stars, and to ask yourself the question of who has hidden those stars from them. Yeah, I think it's one of the most interesting questions.
This is like the Kimmy Schmidt story of Star Wars, basically.
Yeah,
like, they just grew up underground. Let's talk about Jude Law's character. What a guy, huh? The show has listed his name as Jadna Nawood. Jadna Nawood. But he was totally Captain Silvo.
Right,
that's not a mystery.
There's no way he's not, right?
It sounded just like him. The way it moved. I mean, Captain Silvo, come on. I think this is a great role for Jude Law. I think he plays like an untrustworthy character so well. You know, I like this kind of turn in his career of like not being the leading man anymore, but playing, you know, he played like Watson in the Sherlock Holmes films like very well. You know, his turn on Captain Marvel is great as Yanrog, just like a great asshole, like just so good. at being like a character who pretends to be good, but really has like nefarious purposes. But what do we think his endgame is in this series, right? He's in this prison cell. The kids show up. He's able to bring the key over. I'm not going to say he used the Force because I don't think he did. But he's able to get the key over. But if he could do that the whole time, why is he hanging out in this cell? Like, what changed with this kid showing up that made him decide now's the moment I'm going to get out of this cell?
I think having the kids there and having their rat from SM33 gives him someone to blame his escape on. Because if it was just him in the cell and he used the Force, I think he is using the Force.
Okay.
Because it's like the Force is known by many names in Star Wars.
Sure.
The Thread, the whatever, like they all have different names, but it is the same life force that's running through everything.
It's all midichlorians.
Yeah,
baby.
he may not call it
You don't
the
think it's
Force.
magnets?
No, it's midichlorians all the
There
way
was a
down.
magnet always attached to the key, and he was
Turn magnet sensitivity higher, polarity higher.
let me
I
walk
think,
out with
I
this
think
chain.
he's using some sort of weird tech. I don't think he's using the
that.
Force.
You guys
I don't
are
know.
ridiculous.
No,
Keep
he's
going.
using. I believe he's using the Force, but he doesn't want to out himself as a
Yeah,
Force practitioner
100%.
to these pirates that mutinied and brigged him. Like, I think his idea is like, oh great, I have these kids here. I can say I was only able to get it, but like if he's able to get out by himself, then he outs himself as a Force user, and they're
Right.
gonna beat the shit out of
They're
him.
gonna break his legs.
There is a character in the High Republic novels who was a Force wielder, but was on the side of the pirates and the Nihil. I never know how you pronounce it. Neel was on their side, and like the Jedi encounter this person at one point, and they fight, and they're like, oh, they can use the Force, but they clearly weren't trained in using it. So it could be like a situation like that, right? If he's a young human, I guess he's human, Carillion, I don't know. He's a young person growing up, and he realizes he has the Force, but in the world he's growing up in the middle of the Star Wars, right? He's like, oh, Jedi will be killed, so I have to keep quiet, or he never expresses that he is a Jedi.
Well,
he's just kind of been hiding it.
He also overhears these children have a loud conversation about having all those coins in their
Yeah,
socks.
they mentioned
and
the
they said like
coins.
we're literally ascends like immediately Fern, who not to be this person, blames Wim for everything right now in the prison cell, is like, this is a planet. We are from a treasure planet, and we need to get off this planet and go back to our home of
And he was
gold.
like,
Get away from
"Excuse
these
me?"
broke ass fucking pirates. She said that, and I was like, oh, there's Jude Law coming from around the corner after hearing about this planet. And he's like, now's the time to get out.
He's
like,
smelling a pie on a windowsill and floats
he's following.
over there.
It literally is. It literally is that.
Do you think whoever runs the prison or the brig was like, should we throw the kids in with John Nod? Do we know if that's okay to do? Is John Nod
That is
cool?
true. They didn't
Yeah.
care where they were throwing them children.
We've got
They're like,
little boys and little girls. Should we be throwing them in the cell with
there's
John Nod?
another cell. You could hear the whistling
I know,
in the
yeah, yeah.
background,
Yeah.
and those guys are the pedos, and you can't put him.
Why? 'Cause they whistle?
Can't put them
They
in there.
whistle?
I don't know. It's just why would they have options?
Yeah, were they whistling at an animal or were they whistling at the little kids walking
Yeah,
by?
that is true. I didn't know.
Hey, you got some new
what
fish.
kind of whistle was
got
it?
some
What
new
note?
fish in the brig, huh?
Was it one of the cartoony ones? Were they going, and then their eyes were bugging out? Sorry.
I think my hope is that Jude Law is not playing a former Jedi. I don't want him to
Not a
have
yeah,
ever
yeah.
gone to the temple.
Nah.
I don't want him to have been a former Inquisitor. My hope is that he is someone who, based off of his age,
Yeah.
he was around when the Jedi were still, through Obi-Wan and Yoda and Mace Windu and Plo Koon and Ki-Adi-Mundi were going around recruiting kids to fight in the Clone Wars. He's probably old enough to remember the Clone Wars. My hope is that at some point, some Jedi showed up to his planet and he was like, no,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to join you. And instead got hooked up with some pirates and used his Force sensitivity, as sloppy and messy as it might have been, to help pirates and get ahead. And Hondo Ohnaka might have brought him up. And so that's the life he's lived. He's not a Jedi, but he's afraid of people ever associating him with the skill, because in addition to knowing about the Jedi and the Inquisitors, he knows that during the Imperial era, anybody who's Force sensitive was hunted down.
Yeah.
And so he has just tried to stay subtle, and he's used the Force in little ways to try to get ahead and become a Captain
To
Pirate.
get the keys.
Did
he-
but
was he-
not any further than that.
Was he not the person at the beginning?
No, we think he was.
We think he
I
was.
assumed he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems pretty.
And then his pirates were like, no,
But
get
it
out
is
of
interesting
here.
that he didn't kill him, right? And that might be, if he does have the Force, maybe he used like a Jedi mind trick to keep them from throwing him out of the airlock,
Yeah.
right? Because why
Or he
wouldn't they have
used
just killed him?
Leia's space flight from The Last Jedi to fly through space.
Pulled himself back into the brig, and he's
I-
like, I just want to be in the brig.
Do you think it's weird? Do you think they wanted us to be like in the dark? Like, I think it's so obvious that Silvo. Like, do they want that to be a mystery?
I think it was just like
it was not a mystery.
I think it's like a mystery in as much that like at a child level mystery. I think those kind of movies always had like a mystery that as an adult you're like, oh, this isn't that hard to figure out, right? And to me it's very much the trope of in a Peter Pan story, Father Darling is always the same actor that plays Captain Hook, right? Which Jude Law just played Captain Hook in this Wendy and Peter Pan movie. But the idea that like you don't notice it as a kid, but then as an adult you're like, oh, it's the same. I get it, and it's an allegory for something else. Father Darling,
Mr. Darling.
That's their name.
Don't call him Father Darling.
He's Father Darling. That's
Darling.
his part. Listen, I was in production of Peter Pan for 8 weeks, 8 shows a week at a local dinner theater. His Father Darling.
How old were you doing this?
Which character?
I was Toodles, the Lost Boy. That in the Broadway production is the one they play the natives and the pirates play tug of war with. And then Hook in Legend, he goes on to go back home with Wendy. Toodles lands Wendy. Let's just lay it out.
I'm not dealing with this.
Peter Pan can never land that Wendy bird, but Toodles does.
I'm not doing this on Skeleton Crew.
And Toodles gets out the game. He goes to the real world where he keeps growing up. Okay. In the books.
Zach chiming in to say, theory, Jude Law can't use the Force at all. He said illusion right before getting it. It's some kind of magic trick that he set up. Because he says the space between us and the key is an illusion. I want to lean on what Jess is saying, where he's like, these kids said what? And then he's just like,
absolutely, he overheard it, but I think he still is using the Force. I don't think it's just a magic trick. That'd be ridiculous to wait till this one moment to do it.
It's good magic.
Okay, so explain the mechanics of this magic trick.
Okay, he's got
fish wire.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fishing line. It's a fishing line.
This brig has a canteen, okay? And Jude Law has amassed enough credits for the canteen that he's been able to buy the supplies to build a magnetron. And he's used that magnetron to attract the key.
Why now, though? Why now? He could have done that ages ago. He didn't have to do it for us in front of a camera.
Did the kids mention the ship at all? Because if he hears... Because that's the other thing. If he breaks out of the brig, where's he going, right? He can't just steal any ship.
He could steal a ship with the Force.
He doesn't got the Force. He's got magnets.
He's like Pablo Hidalgo. He likes his prison.
He likes it. He's getting 3 meals a day and a cot. You know what I mean? And he had his own cell for a while. And now he's got kids.
I figured it out.
Okay.
The key isn't moving. The cell is on a track dolly that's moving toward the key.
They're like...
Poor Borgo is Jude Law's to control.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Also, any prisoner's allowed to touch the key at any moment because the key doesn't open anything.
Yeah, it's a trick.
The key is an illusion.
I hate every part of it.
No, I think he heard that like they have a ship and he realizes like I can manipulate these children. I can get them to let me go on their ship and we'll get out of here. And maybe he heard the treasure planet stuff too and he's like, I would love to.
He's a pirate man. This is a pirate journey.
Is it possible he recognized the little rat? Does he know about the onyx cylinder? Maybe it's not as old as we think it is. Cinder?
Onyx Cylinder is a crazy dance club that is a true gravitron that it just keeps spinning.
It just keeps spinning.
But do you think he knows about the ship of is this like a Captain Jack Sparrow Black Pearl thing where he's like, I know what this ship is. It's my ship and I want it back, right? Could it be something like that? And maybe that the ship isn't as old as we think it is?
Do we think he cares that most about the ship?
If the ship was his at one point and he knows about At Attin and he's the only one that knows, he knows it exists. Let's throw in another story, Waterworld, right? Like he's got a map on his back, baby. No, he knows that there is this planet and he's been there before, but he got screwed out of it somehow and his ship is still there. And now he realizes that his ship has made its way to him and he's going to get his ship back and then get back to At Attin. We don't know how old Captain Silvo is, baby.
Well, it's crazy to hear those kids and be like, oh, that is my ship.
I think the Onyx Cinder predates Silvo.
Okay.
I think it is an older ship, and there's a story of these two skeletons. And I know in the breakdown I talked about the lost skeletons, but I think we're going to get to know who these two were. Yeah. And then, but it's like this legend. It's like the Black Pearl. Okay. Like every pirate has been trying to get their hands on the Onyx Cinder. They've heard stories about this. And that's why the gun turrets were like, because Brutus asks the question. It's like, why didn't our cannons shoot it down? And it's because these cannons, like, they respect the whatever. the call sign of this ship.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, they're respecting this as it floats into port. Welcome home. And it is this old vessel that they've all tried to get their hands on. And maybe what is special about this is not only it might have been the one ship to find its way to At Attin, and it knows the star path to get there.
Oh, okay. I like that. Evan?
Yeah, Joyce Ladd also mentioning maybe he knows SM-33. If they had mentioned the droid in the cell, it's another link to possibly getting this. Oh, SM-33 SME, right? Something that's been a fun little reference.
SME.
Yeah, I think
Shmee.
excited to see where, exactly where the series goes from here and how Jude Law's character is going to be revealed. As we kind of start wrapping things up here, I want to ask a question from the chat. Joyce Ladd and GSU Eagle asking, do you think we finally get more live action pirates like Hondo Inaka or maybe Fee from the Bad Batch? I think one of them had said Hondo Inaka's ship was in the spaceport.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we are going to see Hondo on the show.
That would be interesting. I've been waiting, I've been really waiting for one of these Star Wars projects to acknowledge like the Black Spire Outpost and Batuu. They've never tied it into the movies or TV shows in a good way. Like even on all these star maps, they never just had Batuu sitting there because I think the time periods don't line up because they're trying to make the galaxy edge in parks exist in like a post First Order kind of current First Order kind of world.
Yeah, but Vader's walking around.
No, Vader. No original trilogy characters show up in Galaxy's Edge. They only, unless you consider R2 and like 3PO, but like you can only still meet Vader at a separate area. He doesn't show up in Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, that's right.
Because the time period of Galaxy's Edge,
but he's not walking around with Kylo Ren. I understand what you're saying.
It's very separate, Eric. They keep it very separate.
Yeah, because isn't Vader? Well, they don't do the Jedi training anymore over by Star Tours, right? But that's usually where you find.
Because too many Jedi were like, no, I'm on Vader's side, dog. In my opinion, it's the Jedi who are bad.
Kept kneeling to him.
Yeah.
Wait, Neel before Jod. Did we get there? We mentioned Richard Donner before. We figured it out.
There we go.
Yeah, I think Batuu is referenced in like old Thrawn and Anakin stories.
Sure,
right?
but like put it in a movie, dog.
We don't
Let's
see Black
Hondo
Spire on
Inaka
screen at any point. Yeah, you gotta imagine they're gonna want to give people more reasons to go to Disneyland.
Do we have Chewbacca? You think they'll show Chewbacca?
I don't want Chewbacca on this show. I don't want any Skywalker.
Why was Neel watching a Life Day? Okay, let's talk about I'm going to jump around here. The Life Day Circus, right? Now, this incredible. I mean, what a reference. This is again
haunting.
The Star Wars Holiday Special.
This
now,
is scary. This
is something that Lumpy, Chewbacca's son, was watching on Life Day.
Chewbacca doesn't have a son now in canon, but
Lumpy, this character.
It's not Lumpy died. It would just say they decided he never had a family.
Lumpy was retconned.
What did they do to that baby?
Lumpy was retconned.
They erased him from existence.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Chewbacca wasn't the dad. He was the dad who stepped up. Okay. Chewbacca dropped in on this family. He's like, "Yo, I killed your husband, so technically you're mine now." That's how Wookiees work. Lumpy was watching this thing on Life Day. It was
my God.
Hologram. We
The
lost
simulation?
The barrier. Now, I don't think the circus is necessarily tied to Life Day, right? Because why would Neel know about Life Day? Life Day is a Wookiee thing. It's not.
It's not specific to Wookiees.
It's the Wookiee. It's like the
Mythrol
Wookiee
in the
holiday.
Mandalorian pilot celebrated Life Day.
I guess that's true.
Other characters have celebrated Life Day, and since the Disney buyout. But it is weird that they saw whatever this is. I think it is clearly one of these like meta Easter eggs that they put in there.
Yeah.
Because people like John Watts. I don't think John Watts was old enough to have seen the '78 broadcast.
No.
But it is one of these things that it was one of the most like bootlegged.
Yeah, before
things.
YouTube, it was like a very cool thing to find.
Yeah, you could find the VHS, and it's just one of these things that everyone was like, remember this weird, campy thing that was like shot on a CBS soundstage?
It was the first appearance of Boba Fett and like an animated cartoon on that thing. Like a very weird little program. But I think this is like the Macy's Day Parade, right?
Yes.
Where the circus will show up there, but they're not only for the Macy's Day Parade. They're not only for Life Day. So he's just watching this weird little like hologram of this circus that has not gotten better in the 30 years since we first saw it the first time.
I think it was a recording of it.
Oh, he's watching the old school
The
thing.
thing that Lumpy watched was like shrunken people. It was supposed to be, it was on like a hologram
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
but they didn't have the way to show it
Right.
in a TV broadcast in 78. So they just kind of cut to a soundstage. I'll say in 1978, it was pretty innovative
Yeah,
at the time.
it was a
It's
good
just the fact
effect.
that it's circus performers who no one really knew. People knew what Star Wars was, but it was before Empire came out.
Yeah, they had made one movie, and they were like, we need to just fill in the holes a little bit here and explain all this.
So you have like these weird Cirque du Soleil, like peyote fever dream. It was
Get me up in there.
freaking
Yeah.
crazy.
Get me up in there right
Yeah.
now. ASAP.
Yeah.
It's upsetting. Like I didn't like this.
Take it
I saw
away.
And they rebuilt this. They rebuilt the arch
The
for it.
arch.
They wanted to use the other footage, and they're like, you know what? We're gonna rebuild
Wait,
it. We're
did
gonna
they?
do-
This is from the original, or is this recreated?
They recreated it.
So they hired like
Yes.
circus freaks.
They weren't freaks. They were dancers and jugglers.
They were
yeah, you
definitely-
made it sound like they were freaks.
There were definitely some geeks in there.
Freaks and geeks?
You take one of these aliens and you give him enough time. Oh, he'll geek. Oh, he'll geek.
He'll
So
geek.
and they just did that all for that one tiny little
Yeah,
scene.
that's the
now.
most insane thing because probably
Yeah, for
some
now, that's
maniac in the 70s thought up this circus thing as part of the holiday special, and now a whole team of like artists and production designers had to sit down and be like, okay, how do we recreate this?
On the plus side, you know damn well they kept that set, that full arch. They're like very proud of it at Lucasfilm.
Someone's got it somewhere?
Someone's got it somewhere.
it's
But it could show up again.
It's exactly what Captain EO is.
Yeah.
So I think that's why the Captain EO thing gets referenced too. Is like there is a whole weird culture
Right.
from
This is
being a
fuzzball.
kid in the 70s and 80s
Yeah.
of like what Star Wars meant. And it was odd to us now.
Yeah.
The Captain EO, it's like a musical puppet show that's in 3D, shot by Francis Ford Coppola, starring Michael Jackson and Angelica Houston, and a lot of puppetry
Yeah.
that like the Lucasfilm and Disney teams worked together on, and that is just like a whole tradition to Star Wars that is odd. But I think the fact that it's being referenced in this show, it just shows us that like the people in At Attin are like so derivative of the Skywalker saga that we know, that they're getting these other kind of spin-off things.
Yeah.
And that's what they consume and watch.
And it's a fun way to think of it too, is like because At Attin is so isolated. Yeah, they experience Star Wars, their world, the same way we do. They can only view it from the outside. They have not been a part of it.
Yeah.
They haven't flown ships and left their planet and like gone into space. Like they are solely observers of this. And now these kids get the opportunity to get pulled into the story.
Yeah.
Very like Last Action Hero, right? They get to be in the movie now. They get to carry a blaster. They get to get thrown in the brig with an adult man. Who knows what his intentions are? Are they safe? I'm just saying, whoever's running the brig is doing a bad job.
No, that's what pirates do.
Give them a separate cell. You can't trust.
That's what pirates do.
You
They
can't
don't
trust
care.
John Nod.
They don't care.
Do you think there's a frog dog with a ring of keys in his mouth who's just sitting there and it's his job to keep an eye on the brig?
Yeah. Definitely a frog dog.
That little scene with that little mouse thing though was kind of funny. When it was, I thought for a minute it was gonna actually get the key. I was like, oh, it might actually do it, and then it ran away, and I was like, why did I expect that?
Do you think the little mouse thing just ran out through the space barrier and is just floating in space? He didn't know where to go.
Well, that's also we come back to the main topic, but I was like, when I saw that mouse like run away, I was like, did that denote like the fact that maybe Smee doesn't come back?
No, Smee's coming
No.
back.
He
no,
better
they
come
won't.
back.
Oh.
I will be so mad if they don't drag that robot into that ship and repair him.
Yeah,
I will
Shmi
be
will
so
be
mad.
fine. Don't worry about Shmi.
Okay.
One last little bit. Where do we think the show is gonna go from here? Right? The show will be running into the new year. You know, they've got other very talented directors on board. Of course, the show was kind of conceived by John Watts and Christopher Ford. They're kind of like leading the whole series. But what do we think this series is going to end with? Do we think it'll have like larger implications for Star Wars? Or are they going to tell like a little self-contained story here and that'll be the end of it?
They're gonna kill one of them kids.
I don't need it to connect to the sequel trilogy, to The Force Awakens, to The First Order. Like, I kind of want them to steer away from that and to just, maybe we learn something weird about the way economics have worked in the Star Wars universe, and that there's this weird simulation planet that is just sending money to someone. And that's as much as we need to know. Yeah. The Daniels have directed one of the episodes.
Is it the next episode?
Oscar-winning directors of Everything Everywhere All at Once. They haven't done anything.
And I think they brought them
except
into this project before Everything Everywhere All at Once came out in theaters or whatever.
Yeah.
So they brought them in early on, and then like as they were producing the show, like They really blew up and stuff. Pretty crazy.
And they're directing episode 4, so not next
so not
week's
the next
episode,
one.
but the following one. Yeah.
Their episode, I know, will probably be one that involves a lot of fighting and battles because he also. I read their interview where they did. What's her name? From White Lotus. That Tanya.
Sydney Sweeney.
No, no, the other blonde lady.
Connie Britton.
No, come on. The gays, they're killing me.
I know who you're talking about.
Jennifer Coolidge.
Jennifer Coolidge.
Jennifer
Yes,
Coolidge.
thank
When they did the photo shoot, they directed the photo shoot for Jennifer Coolidge and had her like Ultraman. They were like, all we want to do is space fighting, and that's what we really enjoy, like creating. And I remember reading that, being like, oh, what else are they gonna do that's gonna involve space and a lot of battles and fights? And I was like, oh, they're on Skeleton Crew.
Disney gave press screeners for the first 3 episodes, and we have seen, and this has been a true rule that is held up for every show we've covered, the next episode on the other side of the screener release, when it comes to Disney Plus shows, is always an insane episode.
Yeah.
We saw that on Ahsoka. We saw that on Loki season 2. We saw that on Acolyte. We saw that recently on Agatha All Along. Like, the episode on the other side of the screener barrier is the crazy
Usually
one,
when
and
it
that's the
gets
one that the
crazy.
Daniels is doing.
Yeah.
That's just gonna make no sense. It's just gonna be like Jude Law being weird, eating things that he makes float to him. All I want, and I agree with Eric, I'm like, all I really want in this series and going forward is I'm into the economic part. I'm into this world. I want to understand this world, and if by the end of the show it doesn't connect to any of the like deep lore Skywalker shit, I just want it to be more about, what does this world entail? How does this planet exist? And how has no one been able to find it? I want to know how they can stay off the radar.
Yeah.
Who's calling
Can I
you?
take this for a second? It's my mom, but she's having a problem with our family right now, and I have to step away from just
I hope
one
everything's
second.
okay.
It'll be fine.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
I do really hope. I like that the idea that this story is like very self-contained and kind of like tells itself. And I like this. John Watts, I think, had a quote this week that was like, we're not going to reveal that Jude Law is like a Palpatine clone or anything like that.
Good.
Which I hope is the case. And yeah, I love keeping like the big names out of it. I think an appearance by like Hondo Anaka is not overdoing it by any means. But yeah, Chewie would be too much, right? I don't want to see R2 and C-3PO. Like, keep it all separate and like, yeah, tell these little side stories. Like, that's what I want more of from Star Wars. That's what I almost said that's what I like about Andor, and Andor is very tied to the main story, but it does feel separate from a lot of it. And my fear is too that what happened with Stranger Things might happen here, where it's like Stranger Things was going to be an anthology show, right? We weren't going to follow these kids every season, but the first season was so successful and people fell in love with those kids, they wanted to see more of it. And I think they got into the situation they're in now, where it's like they've built this huge lore for the show and they're trying to explain everything and connect it to all these other things. Whereas it's more fun to just have these kind of side stories that tell themselves. Goonies didn't get a sequel. E.T. did not get a sequel. Explorers, all those, Flight of the Navigator, all those fun movies from like the 80s and 90s that tell these like really self-contained stories, they ended. And that's great. And I would kind of like that for this series. I don't want it to become a big, huge thing. Unless we get the further adventures of Neel. Neel can live on forever.
Yeah, Neel
tell
needs
1,000
his own
Neel stories.
show. Yeah, I'll live with Neel for the rest of
where
my
he
life.
just grows up and he gets married and he gets married to that furry girl from his class and they just
She's not good enough for him.
hang out at home.
No,
and
she's perfect.
They watch holograms all day and there's no action ever. It's just a very lame story.
I
love
hate her.
Why? For what reason?
For him.
No.
She might be fine for someone else, but she is wrong for Neel.
You don't know what's good for Neel.
Neel doesn't know what's good for Neel. Only I know what's good for Neel. He's my baby boy, and I want to protect him. And she is just going to be some analyst who will snitch on him for being friends with Wim. And the longer he is friends with Wim, and he still has this crush on her, neither can live while the other survives.
Oh my
and
God.
she will snitch on Wim so fast. So if you want Wim to be locked up in droid jail for the rest of his life, then sure, you can ship Neel with this stupid little girl, but that's not going to be good for Wim, and it's not going to be good for Neel.
Dang.
My favorite part is that when Eric was in kindergarten, his best friend left him for
For Runa?
for his also
Some
crush.
furry girl in his class.
Also, do you think that? Damn. It was just the office
the
pet.
fur.
It was the class pet. he got to take the
When
hedgehog
I was in
home.
kindergarten, there was a girl named Elisa who would
Oh,
tie my
stop.
shoes.
Why would you say
And I
that?
didn't know how to tie my shoes until the second grade because she moved during first grade, and she would always tie my shoes for me.
Why does that have to do with her? That's on you.
They were his Christmas shoes, too.
We're gonna tie your own shoes. But do you think that...
All right, you landlubbers. As we wrap up the show today, let's assess our crew and decide which one of these scallywags deserves to walk the plank. Who would you throw overboard in one of these first 2 episodes to visit Davy Jones in the fathoms below?
Like who we want to kill?
Yeah, of these first 2 episodes, which character do you think should have to walk the plank? It could be any character.
I don't think...
But based on these first 2 episodes, which character would you make walk the plank?
I don't think they need to die. But if it's like you go in the brig for a couple days, walk the plank to the brig, I'm so sorry. It's gotta be Wim. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I am so sorry because I was also like, no. I was like, you guys, he just wants adventure. He just wants to journey. You guys are listening. Eric, stop. Put it down.
Take it back.
No.
You shouldn't have come here.
It should be Wim. Like at the end of the day, Wim pressed that button.
Wim's a problem.
Wim pressed that. He didn't need to press that button. He did not need to press that button, and they told him not to do it, and he still did it.
The most important test of his life, and he can't wake up on time? Get out of here, folks.
See, I'm not doing that.
It's just basic math. Here's who's got to walk the plank. It's whoever runs the brig on the planet and put kids in with the pirate. No, Wim's father needs to walk the plank.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, Wendell walks the plank, baby. Just have an honest conversation with your son. Tell him what's going on in the galaxy, and stop gaslighting him about this stuff. Okay?
But he's written like an Amblin dad.
Oh,
or
totally.
Like the old school dad of like, aren't you too old for stories?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be over
This
that?
dad needs to walk the plank. If you want your kid to pass his test, you need to be home for him, okay? Let's get home for our kids.
I've been pretty hard on Runa.
This is the furry girl from class.
Runa, you don't have to go out the airlock, but you know who does? Is Fern's mother, Farrah, played by Carrie Condon. She is the classic Felicity Huffman trying to bribe her way into getting her daughter into higher education, and she didn't earn it. She is an undersecretary. She should not be going to make school visits and taking up valuable class time to talk about the merits and the virtues of the great work, when really she's just there to drop by the principal's office, drop some old Republic credits on his desk, and be like, make sure my kid gets into USC. Bullshit. She needs to leave. She is a problem. She is a scourge on our lives. And I can't wait for her to die.
Yeah, my child plays laser field hockey. Look at this photo of her with the team. Clearly, she's a laser field hockey player. That's field hockey in space. It's called laser field hockey. Laser field hockey. Any other questions from the chat, Evan, that we need to address before we're finished?
No, I think we're all set here.
Great, good.
Who do they think should walk the plank? Let me know later.
A lot of people saying Wim.
It has just this one episode. I know next episode I'm gonna be on his side, but also I'm so sorry. Why wasn't he not understanding to hide those coins?
Yeah, hide those coins.
He did. He put them in his sock.
And then he started pulling it out like...
Also,
you should see me when I went to London with my wife. I was just like, these coins look different.
Look at your fun, colorful money. It's so silly.
As soon as he met back up with the girls, it was crazy that Fern immediately was like, why are you doing that? I was like, he did it 3 times.
I mean, Wim going to a merchant, buying some noodles and being not asking up front how much.
How much it is.
Is this enough? Yeah.
He's a baby boy. He doesn't know.
This is why Wendell has to walk the plank.
Not babying him. This is why he keeps making mistakes.
His dad didn't teach him how commerce works.
He doesn't know how to barter. He doesn't even know how to ride his bike up into the woods. He's like, he watched Fern and KB take this shortcut and saw them go up the ramp, and he just goes right up to it. And he goes, I don't know. And then he has to throw his bike over and tries to do an Akira power slide and goes right into a ditch.
I love him so much, but he... when he... Oh my God, I can't get out. Help me.
Some Jedi temples sink into the ground. Shut up, you nerd.
I love him so much, but he is making too many mistakes, and I'm like, at the expense of Neel, who is not even on your side anymore. Neel's like, I just want to go home. You lost your own best friend.
Neel might be the best big brother that we've ever seen in Star Wars. He knows all of his family's names, and little baby Tuki. What does he say? And then he just soaks in a bath.
Yeah.
I'm
in here, Mom. Don't come in.
I love how much he acknowledges how dirty everything is. He's always like, "You're laying on the floor. It's kind of gross." This is a gross
Remember when Neel thought that Fern was being serious when she said that she killed the previous captain? He goes, "No, you did." He said something was a pain in the trunk, which this kid, everything he says is iconic.
Neel Nation.
Well, folks, that's it for us today. Make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel right here on YouTube and give us a follow on Twitch where we do videos like this live. Make sure you follow at Breakroom NR on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, anywhere else you can find us. We'll catch you next time. Latest Gaius. Goodbye.
This is hyperdrive for me.
We're going this way!